My name is Mark. I'm 30, 8 years old now, married, 2 kids, a normal life. But none of that really matters when I think about what happened to me when I was 29. That night is still there, sitting just under my skin, waiting. I can be driving in broad daylight with a full tank of gas and suddenly feel like I'm back there again, alone, listening to my engine die. I was working construction at the time, bouncing between job sites across New Mexico. That week, I'd been assigned to a site farther out than usual, and I'd stayed late to finish a pour that couldn't wait until morning. By the time I left, it was close to midnight. I remembered being exhausted but relieved. The road home was familiar, long and empty, cutting through miles of desert that looked the same no matter how many times you drove it. I should have stopped for gas earlier. I remember passing a station about an hour before and thinking I didn't need it. The gauge wasn't that low. I'd done that drive before. I told myself I'd stop later. The road was dead quiet. No radio, no other cars, just the steady hum of tires and the occasional reflective sign flashing back at me like a warning I didn't understand yet. When the fuel light came on, I felt a flicker of anxiety, but I pushed it down. I kept driving. 10 minutes later, the engine sputtered. It wasn't dramatic. No loud bang, just a subtle hesitation, like the car was thinking about quitting. I whispered, "Come on," under my breath, like that might help. Another sputter. Then, silence. I coasted to the shoulder and sat there with my hands still on the wheel, staring at the dashboard. The headlights illuminated nothing but sand and scrub. The dark beyond them felt thick, almost heavy. I tried my phone. No service. I stayed in the car, locked the doors. That's what you're supposed to do. I told myself someone would come by eventually, but the minutes stretched. 10, 20, 40. The silence pressed in on me. No insects, no wind, nothing. Then I heard footsteps. At first, I thought I was imagining it, my brain playing tricks, but they kept coming. Slow, crunching on gravel, circling. I turned my head slowly, heart hammering, trying to see through the side mirror. A shape moved just beyond the headlights. Tall, broad shoulders, moving casually, like this wasn't unusual at all. He stepped into the light. He looked like a normal guy. Jeans, jacket, ball cap pulled low. That somehow made it worse. He raised a hand in a small wave. "Out of gas?" he called. I nodded without opening the window. He smiled, friendly, and walked closer. Too close. He leaned down and put his hands on my hood like he owned it. "You're lucky," he said. "I live just down the road. Got a can." Something in his tone made my stomach turn. Not threatening, almost pleased. I shook my head, said I'd wait for help. My voice sounded weak even to me. His smile faded. "Suit yourself." He walked back into the dark. I thought that was it. I thought I'd passed some kind of test. 20 minutes later, my driver's side door handle rattled. Not violently. Slowly. Carefully. I froze. Held my breath. The handle stopped. Then the passenger side rattled. Then the trunk. He was checking. I screamed and laid on the horn until my throat hurt. The rattling stopped. I didn't see him again, but I heard footsteps retreating into the desert. When a truck finally passed just before dawn, I broke down crying so hard I couldn't speak. The police searched the area later. They found an abandoned shack less than half a mile away. Inside were gas cans, rope, a sleeping bag. They told me I was lucky. I don't believe in luck anymore. This story is told by Jenna M. age 34. It is written exactly as I told it, in my own words. My name is Jenna. I'm 34 years old now. This happened when I was 26, and even after all these years, I still don't like driving at night. I don't mean I dislike it in a normal way. I mean I actively avoid it. I'll take longer routes, waste gas, miss appointments, whatever I have to do to stay on roads with lights and traffic. I don't care how unreasonable that sounds. What happened to me out there changed the way my brain reacts to darkness and isolation. And I don't think that will ever fully go away. At the time, I was living in Portland, working a job that barely paid enough to justify how exhausted I always felt. I'd grown up in a very small town in eastern Oregon, the kind of place where everyone knows your parents and nothing ever really happens. I still drove back to visit them every few months because it felt grounding, like a reminder that the world hadn't always been this loud and overwhelming. That weekend, I stayed later than usual. My mom cooked dinner, my dad fell asleep in his chair halfway through a movie, and everything felt safe and familiar. I kept checking the time, telling myself I'd leave soon, but I didn't want the visit to end. By the time I finally hugged them goodbye and loaded my bag into the car, it was already dark. Not just dusk. Full night. I remember my mom standing on the porch, asking if I was sure I didn't want to leave in the morning instead. I laughed it off and told her I'd be fine. I'd made that drive dozens of times. 2 highways, 1 long stretch with nothing on it, then back into civilization. I knew it by heart. Or at least, I thought I did. The first part of the drive was normal. Empty roads, occasional headlights passing in the opposite direction, the radio playing quietly in the background. I felt calm, comfortable, the kind of tired you get after a good visit, where your body is worn out, but your mind feels full. I didn't notice the gas gauge right away. That's the part that still makes me feel stupid. I wasn't distracted by my phone. I wasn't speeding, I just didn't look. When the warning light blinked on, it was like a small electric shock went through my chest. I glanced up and realized I had just passed the last exit with services for a long time. I remember feeling annoyed, more than scared at first. Annoyed at myself. Annoyed that I hadn't filled up earlier when it would have been easy. I told myself it would be fine. I'd coast if I had to. I turned off the radio and the air conditioning, like that might somehow help, and focused on the road ahead. The highway narrowed as it always did. No street lights, no buildings, just darkness on both sides, stretching out farther than my headlights could reach. The warning light stayed on. The needle kept sinking. Every mile marker felt heavier than the last. When a car died, it was sudden. 1 second I was moving, the next the engine cut out completely, and the silence hit me so hard it felt physical. I coasted as far as I could and pulled onto the shoulder, my heart pounding so fast it made my ears ring. I locked the doors immediately. That was instinct. I don't remember deciding to do it. My hands just did it. I sat there staring straight ahead, my headlights illuminating an empty strip of road, and nothing else. The night felt wrong. Too quiet, like the world had paused just for me. No wind, no insects, no distant sounds of traffic, just me and my own breathing. I checked my phone. No signal. I tried anyway. Texted my mom. Called roadside assistance. Nothing went through. The screen felt cold and useless in my hands. So I waited, Minutes stretched in a way that felt unreal. Every sound inside the car felt amplified. The faint tick of cooling metal, the soft creak of the seat when I shifted. I kept checking my mirrors, convinced something would be there when I looked. About half an hour passed before I saw headlights in my rearview mirror.
The relief was immediate and overwhelming. My chest tightened, and my eyes burned with tears I didn't even realize were coming.
Someone was there. I wasn't invisible anymore. The car slowed and pulled over behind me. I watched the lights carefully, my heart still racing. A man got out. He didn't rush toward me. He didn't wave or shout. He walked slowly, deliberately, stopping several feet away from my driver's side window. His hands were visible, held loosely at his sides. "You okay?" he asked. His voice sounded normal. Friendly, even. I told him I was out of gas.
My voice shook despite my efforts to steady it. He nodded, like he already knew that was the answer.
"I can take you to a station," he said. Something about him felt off. It wasn't his words, it was the way he said them. Like he wasn't offering so much as informing me. Like the decision had already been made in his head. I told him I'd stay with the car and wait for help. His expression changed. Just slightly. The corners of his mouth dropped, and his eyes hardened for a split second before he masked it. "Suit yourself," he said. He turned and walked back to his car, got in, and drove away. I sat there shaking, my heart hammering against my ribs. I told myself I was being paranoid, that he was just some guy trying to help, that I'd scared myself because I was alone and tired. I leaned my head back against the seat and closed my eyes for just a moment, trying to slow my breathing. 10 minutes later, the headlights came back. This time, he parked closer. Much closer. His headlights flooded my car, turning my mirrors into blinding white rectangles. He didn't get out right away.
I watched his silhouette shift inside the car, the glow of his dashboard lighting up his face in brief flashes. A cold dread settled into my stomach.
When he finally stepped out, he was holding a flashlight. He walked toward me again, slower than before, shining the beam into my windows. Not quick, not frantic, slow and deliberate, like he was taking inventory. I screamed and slammed my hand down on the horn. The sound was deafening in the empty night. My pulse roared in my ears. He didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was small and controlled, like he was amused by my reaction. "You're really stuck," he said. "No one's coming." My entire body went rigid. I locked my arms over my head and screamed again, louder this time, until my throat burned and my voice cracked. I didn't care how crazy I sounded. I screamed until I tasted. For a moment, I thought he might break the window. I was sure of it. I braced myself for the sound of glass shattering. Instead, he stepped back. He turned off his flashlight, walked back to his car, and drove away. I didn't stop shaking. I didn't stop crying. I sat there with my hands clenched in my lap, convinced he was still out there, watching from the darkness just beyond my headlights. Time lost all meaning after that. I don't know how long I sat there. I kept expecting the headlights to come back again. Every time a shadow shifted or my car creaked, my heart jumped into my throat. At some point, I heard footsteps. They weren't on the road. They were coming from the side, from the dark. I froze, barely breathing, my eyes fixed on the passenger side window. The footsteps stopped, then started again. Slow, careful. I turned my head inch by inch, my neck stiff with fear. There was nothing there, but I knew someone had been close. I could feel it, that heavy, suffocating sense of being watched. I stayed absolutely still. Eventually, hours later, another set of headlights appeared. A truck this time. I laid on the horn until my hands hurt. The driver pulled over, got out, and asked if I was okay. His voice sounded genuinely concerned, and I broke down completely. When the state trooper arrived, dawn was just starting to lighten the sky. I told him everything, every detail. My voice shook the entire time. He listened quietly, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he told me there were reports of a man targeting stranded women on that stretch of highway. He said they believed he'd been doing it for years. They never caught him. Even now, when I see headlights slow behind me at night, my chest tightens and my hands start to shake. Part me is still sitting in that car, out of gas, screaming into the dark, waiting to see if the lights will come back again. This story is told by Louise C., age 45. I'm telling it in my own words, exactly as I remember it. My name is Louise. I'm 45 years old now. I was 37 when this happened, and there's not a single part of me that doesn't still feel ashamed when I think about it. Not embarrassed, ashamed. Because every instinct I had that night told me something was wrong, and I ignored all of them. At the time, I was working as a regional sales manager, which meant a lot of late-night driving through places most people only ever see on maps. That particular week, I was in southern Arizona, moving between small towns, staying in cheap motels, living off gas station food. I was tired in a deep, grinding way. The kind of tired where you start making bad decisions because you just want to be done. It was late, well past midnight. The highway I was on was nearly empty. A long black stretch cutting through desert that felt endless even in daylight. That night, it felt unreal, like I was driving through a place that didn't quite belong to the world anymore. I missed my exit. I remember seeing the sign too late, watching it slide past my window, and feeling that brief spike of frustration. I could have turned around. I should have. But I told myself it wasn't worth the time. The next exit couldn't be that far. I didn't want to add another 30 minutes to an already exhausting day. That was my first mistake. The second was ignoring the gas gauge. I noticed it dropping faster than I expected, the needle edging closer and closer to empty. I remember tapping it with my finger, like that would somehow make it lie to me. I told myself I'd make it. I always did. I'd pushed it before and been fine. I wasn't fine. Just after midnight, the engine coughed once, then again, and then everything went quiet. No drama. No warning beyond that brief stutter. I coasted to the shoulder and stopped, my headlights cutting a weak tunnel through the darkness. I sat there for a long time without moving, hands on the wheel, breathing shallow, listening. The desert at night has a sound, even when it's quiet. A kind of low, distant hum that night. Even that was missing. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath. I checked my phone. No signal. I stayed in the car at first, locked the doors, told myself someone would pass eventually. I watched the road ahead and behind, my eyes straining for headlights that didn't come. About 20 minutes passed before I saw movement. A van slowed as it approached, its headlights sweeping over my car. It pulled up beside me instead of behind me, close enough that I could see the grime on its side panels. The engine kept running. The driver rolled down his window. He was a man around my age, maybe a little older. Short hair, unremarkable face. The kind of person you wouldn't remember if you passed him in a grocery store. "Need help?" he asked. His voice was casual. Too casual. I told him I was out of gas. He nodded once, like that confirmed something for him. "I've got some," he said. "Can give you a ride too. Station's not far." I hesitated. Every part of me felt tight and uneasy, like my body was bracing for something my mind didn't want to acknowledge. I glanced down the road. Still empty. I thought about how long I might be stuck there. About work in the morning. About how tired I was. I should have stayed in my car. I didn't. I grabbed my bag and stepped out. The desert air felt colder than I expected. As soon as I reached the van, the sliding door opened with a hollow metallic sound that echoed too loudly in the silence. I climbed in. The door slid shut behind me. The locks clicked. It was loud. Final. The smile on his face disappeared instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. His shoulders relaxed in a way that made my stomach drop, like he no longer needed to pretend. "Seatbelt," he said. I didn't move. I told him I'd change my mind, that I'd rather wait. He didn't respond. He just pulled the van back onto the road and started driving. The inside of the van smelled wrong. Not dirty. Not exactly. More like chemicals layered over something organic. Something old. There were no windows in the back. Just metal panels. I noticed scratches on them. Long ones. Deep. I asked him where we were going. "To get gas," he said, flat and emotionless. My heart was pounding so hard, I felt dizzy. I reached for the door handle. It didn't move. That's when he laughed. It wasn't loud, just a quiet, breathy sound, like he was amused by how obvious my panic had become. I won't describe everything that happened next. I can't. Some of it feels unreal even now, like it happened to someone else. What I will say is that I understood very quickly that he never intended to help me, that this wasn't his first time, that the van was set up for something very specific. I survived because headlights appeared behind us. Another vehicle coming up fast. The man cursed under his breath. His entire demeanor changed again, this time sharp and angry. He swerved onto the shoulder and slammed on the brakes. "Get out!" he hissed. "Now!" He shoved me toward the door and unlocked it. I fell out onto the pavement, scraping my hands and knees. By the time I looked up, the van was already pulling away, disappearing into the dark. I don't remember standing up. I remember sitting on the ground, shaking uncontrollably, staring at my bleeding hands like they belonged to someone else. Hours later, the police found me walking along the road barefoot, my clothes torn, my voice barely working. They kept asking me questions. Where did the van go? What did he look like? Why did I get in? That last one stuck with me. Why did I get in? I didn't have an answer then. I still don't. All I know is that sometimes Late at night, I still hear that lock clicking shut in my head, and I wake up drenched in sweat, grateful that I'm still here, and terrified of how close I came to not being found at all.